everybody. Yes, I'm back. Not on the road. I'm not FOB, fresh off the boat. I'm not FOP, fresh off the plane. I'm here in the studio. 108 Inches Baseball Talk is brought to you by the South Florida Tribune. Great show lined up tonight. We have a bunch of them lined up for the rest of the week. And of course, Candy and I will be in Detroit for as my nephew Brock will be getting married on Saturday. So we have a 4-day cup of coffee back home, and then we get to hit the road again. It seems like Friday and Sunday, Candy, are our travel days, aren't they?
Sounds like it. It seems like it lately.
It sure does.
As
Uh,
as long as the only thing I'm going to say is I hope the first leg of the Detroit trip does not repeat what the first leg of our London trip
oh,
was.
gosh. Well, now that you let the cat out of the bag, even though we brought our cats home tonight, why don't you let the audience know what that was, and then I'll get to the itinerary now that you brought
It
it
was
up.
a, it was our flight was supposed to leave at what 10 no 8:30 at night or something on Friday night, and it was a 5-hour delay, mechanical delay, because one of the parts on the plane they had to fly a new part from New York down to Miami for some reason, and
Oh
then
my.
install it, and so there was a 5-hour delay. So yeah, sitting in an
And
airport for an extra 5 hours when you're already there, what 2-3 hours ahead of time because you're flying internationally. Yeah, fun
Hey,
time.
hey, Josh Adore, glad to have you back. By the way, good news, JD. Josh Adore, you're free to communicate me on my regular phone now that the trip is over because I didn't want you killing my roaming bill. So if you want to reach out to me sometime tomorrow, Josh Adore, you are free to call me on the regular number that you know. Glad to have you back, Josh Adore. Yeah, and then of course you take that 5 hours, okay, and let me tell you what, you talk about a 5 hour time difference. So what do you have? 5 plus 5 equals 10, and that's about the extent of my math tonight. Let's get to the agenda tonight. We have a great crew lined up. Obviously, the title of the show, The Fall of the Yankees, National, and the Guardians. And we have a lot of other subjects as well. So to get to, let's get right to it. Josh and Dora, glad to have you back in the chat room. I hate baseball, so got to go, but wanted to support the show. Much appreciated, Joshua Dore. Although that's okay. Hey, if he pops out once in a while, it's okay. He's all good with me at the moment until he finds a way to get out ungood with me. But I think he'll be all right for a little
I,
while.
I, I almost muted him when I was stuck with him last week. He was
Oh, look at this guy playing hardball. They all learn from me, Joshua. That's okay. I'm back. So anyway, glad to have you back on tonight's show. And just to let everybody know, and I'll mention this while Joshua's probably watching. George, just so you know, on Thursday night we will be doing a sports wrap, you and I, and our guest that night will be Cody Spink, the guy from Anaheim, as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
So, well, it'll be probably the three of us that night. That'll be the lead in to Fire Up JD Wyatt, just so you know, that we'll have three people going on and then followed by you and Candy in the Country Club. So with that said, okay, let's get to the agenda. A lot to get to tonight. Trent Clark is not on here tonight. He'll be back next Monday. All right, the New York Yankees have now lost 16 of their last 22 games. Oh my goodness, Eric Katz, that isn't good, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, it's been their bullpen just hasn't been able to get it together. It's been I can't recall a time where they've had a full bullpen this year. It doesn't help that Clark Schmidt needs Tommy John, so he's going to be out for the next while. So it's been kind of it's been a mess on the pitching front. And
we're going to talk about Clark a little while, but I'm glad you brought that up from the onset. Go ahead.
It's just been a mess all around. And fortunately, there's fortunately with the American League not being as strong as it was last year, the Yanks are still obviously in the playoff hunt. So we'll see how it goes, though. But they do need a lot of help on the pitching front.
George, some thoughts about the Yankees' struggles.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sight there at the Bronx, I know, and pitching, you got to have pitching, no question about it, Eric. I mean, you nailed it, but you also have to have everybody on the same page as far as the hitting goes, and that's something too that they could use a little bit more improvement on. I'm never going to count the Yankees out. Heck no, you kidding me? I mean, obviously they're a team that has been built to win. The roster has been tweaked over the last few years, but hey, they're still one of the top challengers. And even though Detroit is on top of the American League right now, one loss and percentage-wise, you got to understand that the Yankees are going to be there. Toronto also kudos, but the Yankees will be back. It'll take some time, but you're right, Eric. They do need some help. There's no question about it in the relief corps.
Our turn over to JD Wyatt. Go ahead, JD.
It's crazy to see the Yankees on this tremendous losing streak. When you think about it, the New York Mets have also been on a very similar losing streak. I mean, Juan Soto, highest paid player in baseball, doesn't even make the All-Star team playing for the New York Mets. And listen, teams they got to learn how to lose. I told you the other day, baseball is checkers. A lot of people are trying to make it chess. You can make baseball very simplistic. The Yankees and the Mets right now, they're not doing it. When you got a runner at second with nobody out, one out, you got to hit behind the runner. You got to make hit and runs. You got to steal the base, which is it me or have I seen a lot less stolen base attempts this year? We saw them explode over the last few years when they changed the bag size and they changed the length. And so here we are, though, in baseball, and all of a sudden, the most effective runner is the one that gets placed on second base in the top of the 10th inning for extra innings because that's the new rule. Okay? So, listen, baseball, I don't know, but these losing streaks with the Mets and the Yankees, maybe there's something wrong with the water. Is it the water up there? Because both of them, you went through a tremendous hot streak. Now you're in a tremendous cold streak. But guess what? It's better to lose now than to lose in September and October. I think the Yankees will be fine. Not so sure about the Mets. But the water.
You know, you and I might have a differing opinion on that later, but I want to make sure you got your 2 cents before I refute that. Okay, go ahead, Candy. Now that you're looking up at the sky, now you can look at us and give us your opinion on it. Hey, Jennifer Lee Cobb, by the way, congratulations, Jen. I still, the time comes that we have a chance to meet one day, but congratulations. He's one of my most loyal followers, and I think that we'll Jen, one day look forward to meeting you, but I'm so happy for you that you found your bestie, and she's always been a bestie in terms of the way she's always watched out for me anyways. God bless, Jen. All right, go ahead, Candy.
So most teams in a course of a season go through slumps and go through hills and valleys. I mean, baseball is a long season. And so right now the Yankees just are in one of those slumps. They, if your pitching isn't doing well and your hitters aren't doing well, you're not going to do well. That's just baseball. Sometimes I think, like JD said, sometimes you need to go back to basics. Bunting the ball, running, starting pitching makes a difference. All the pitching actually makes a difference. But one of the things I thought was interesting, though, that Judge drew his 23rd intentional walk a couple days ago, which ties Mantle's 1957 Yankees record. Kind of amazing at this point already to have that many intentional walks. But, yeah, the Yankees will be fine. I think it's just one of those slumps because, like I said, some teams go through it. Sometimes it's a player that's going through a slump. Sometimes it's the whole team. But baseball's a long season. So, as JD said, now's the time to have that slump, not later.
Steven?
I mean, I don't know what the sky isn't falling. We're 3 games out. We're at the beginning of July.
Right.
Like yes, a slump. A mid-season slump is something that happens to a great many teams, but to sit there and think they're completely falling apart, no. It's the Yankees after all, or as I like to call them, the Yankees. But that's besides the point. They have a lot of baseball to go. They have a good team. You can deal with your bullpen having meltdowns from time to time. You could deal with all these little things happening. Yeah, I think 3 of 7 in their last 10. Listen, that's not going to be something you're going to consistently see of this team. Through July, through August, into September. We still got the better part of 3 months of baseball to go. There's a lot of baseball to be played, and after all, the Toronto Blue Jays is the only team that really got to contend with. Maybe the Baltimore Orioles decide to pick up and remember how to play baseball again too. But I firmly believe that the New York Yankees will win the AL East. when everything's all said and done. Like I said, they're 3 games back. You know, they can go on another 10-game losing streak and still bounce back. There's too much time of baseball to be played. We've seen teams go on runs before. This is not something I think any Yankee fan should worry about it. Any fan of New York baseball should be fine. You know, this is something that they can rein back in.
All right, let me rein this in a little bit. Number one, when Candy talked about Aaron Judge talking about those intentional walks, reminds me of Barry Bonds, how he used to get walked all the time because he feared them. That's number one. Number two, I'll tell you why I think the Mets are still the best team in the Big Apple, because Pete Alonso is on a contract year. He's playing on a 1-year basis. You know, not hit as many balls out of the yard, and he's not going to be in the home run derby. So I don't know. I still have a gut feeling the Mets are going to be the best team in the Big Apple, whether they get to the World Series or not. I don't know. But let me finish, okay? I give everybody their turn. I get mine, okay? So
I get a rebuttal.
So yeah, it is. I am going to rebuttal. So, but you know, I understand why everybody's drinking the Yankees Kool-Aid. I have no problem with it. Michael Kay is telling the fans, you don't want to rebuild, so don't get too crazy here. You should realize you're coming off a World Series appearance, which isn't the worst thing in the world. So, and I know Michael Kay well enough that he's the most credible individual on the planet when it comes to him. So I still have a feeling that the Mets are the best team in the Big Apple. Alonso's playing for something. And Juan Soto, maybe this is a wake-up call that he's not in the All-Star Classic. And you know what? Nothing wrong with being humbled a little bit once in a while. A lot to get to tonight. Wanted to start with the Yankees part. We will revisit the situation, Eric Clark-Schmidt, in a moment, okay? But I'm glad that you brought it up at the beginning as a preview. A couple other teams I want to get to. The Cleveland Guardians have lost 10 straight, and they're 40 up and 48. Fourth place in the AL Central, 15.5 games behind the Detroit Tigers. He got swept this weekend by the Tigers. So here, I'm going to throw a little nugget at everybody out there. On July 7th, 1948, the Indians signed Satchel Paige, and now they could have definitely have used Satchel Paige this weekend. So with that said, we don't have to spend a lot of time on the Guardians. Stephen will lead it off with you. Why are the Guardians on such a free fall?
I mean, listen, like I was just sitting there saying with the Yankees, we're way too early to sit there and be worried about rankings, what's going on in July. You know, we still have the All-Star game, the trade deadline. If we're sitting there talking about why is this team falling apart at the end of August going into September, maybe I could sit there and entertain this. Like anything that's going wrong, regardless if you feel starting pitching, bullpen, field play, you know, hitting, whatever. This is something that all can be corrected within a matter of weeks, days, or games. It's, you know, yes, they're in a bit of a slump. Slumps don't last forever.
Yeah.
Some guys they do, but I mean, I don't. The way today's athletes are, I don't see this sustaining. I know the Guardians were you know, one of these highly touted teams coming into the season. I just like the Yankees, I expect them to find their winning ways at some point in time.
Well, Satchel Paige wasn't available this weekend against the Tigers, so obviously you can't blame him for getting swept. All right, we'll turn over to Candy. We're going to go around this way, and then our last team we're going to talk about in this segment will be the Washington Nationals. Go ahead, Candy.
The Guardians ranked 27th in runs, 29th in hits, 29th in batting average, 29th in on-base percentage, 28th in slugging percentage, home runs 24th. They are ranked 15th in runs allowed, 15th in hits allowed. ERA, they are 17th. WHIP, they are 24th. Fielding percentage, they are ranked 28th. If you're going to be ranked in the bottom like that on all those categories, you're going to expect to lose. So somehow you got to turn it around, find it within yourselves, whatever it is, whether that, I mean, sometimes these clubs, like we all said, every team goes through slumps. How long the slump is, matters where you're going to fall in the season. But if they're starting to feel, sometimes what they need to do is they need to close that locker room and have it all out and get whatever is not working out of their system and then regroup.
Okay, Mr. Wyatt.
Oh, we closing up that segment though?
We're talking about the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, okay, the Cleveland Guardians. Yes, of course. I don't know much about the Cleveland Guardians, so I won't comment too much. But again, it's back to what everybody says. I basically agree with them. Baseball teams, they're going to slump. You want to get hot at the right time. Obviously, I just wrote an article the other day about the Braves that they needed to win 70% of their remaining games to even possibly make it to 90 wins and sniff the playoffs. So it's baseball. We can just regurgitate the same thing over and over again. It's simplistic. Sometimes everybody just wants to hit a home run and they strike out. Like, it's really
fair enough. All right, George, obviously the Tigers in the division. You've probably seen the Guardians more than the average individual is. What are your thoughts about what happened with the Guardians? I have a few choice words on this one as well, but go ahead, George.
Yeah, a 10-game losing streak. That is not good at all for them. I have to disagree with you guys. I mean, you can't just pull this off and say there's lots of time. Okay, there's seven games back of the final wild card berth right now, and they have 6 teams that they're chasing. Also, the fact of the matter is the Central Division. Oh my God. I mean, we're talking 15, like Scott's got 15 and a half games behind the Tigers right now.
Right.
The fact of the matter is you've got the coach of the year, manager of the year, the defending manager of the year. You got a good lineup, but the pitching again. Now, they had good pitching against Detroit those first 2 games. Right. You know, even the whole series was decent pitching for Cleveland. So there's a glimmer of hope. Even if they lost all those games as they did, the pitching was very, very sharp. Very few runs were scored, as you guys know, in that whole weekend series. So is Cleveland dead? No, but man, oh man, there's a red flag right now. Flying in their backyard there in Cleveland, because they got to turn this thing around if they want to make the playoffs.
Okay, Eric.
Well, I'll tell you it's not. I mean, yeah, pitching hasn't been great this year, but that's not the root of all their issues. The root of all issues is their hitting. The only guys really hitting in that lineup right now are Jose Ramirez, which, J-Ram's going to be J-Ram because J-Ram's obviously a great player, and Steven Kwan. That's it. Everybody else looks lost up there, and this goes into an even deeper problem. As great as Cleveland is at developing pitchers, they are absolutely pathetic at developing hitters. Angel Martinez, he started off promising, but now he seems to have fallen off a rock. Kyle Manzardo, who they traded away Josh Naylor to get him to start at first base because Manzardo showed some promise last year, but he looks lost up there. This is a big problem, and I think as great as Stephen Vogt is at managing, which I'll never count Stephen Vogt ever out of a fight ever, because he's much like Terry Francona, where that team night in and night out has a fighting chance with him on the bench. He uses too many platoons, which absolutely kills development because these guys are not playing every single day. This is a big, big problem, and Cleveland's being unable to develop hitters is why they're in the position that they're in. That guy who plays Brian Rocchio, I think that's his name, who was the guy who was supposed to replace Francisco Lindor when Lindor was traded to the Mets. The guy has been more lost. The guy has been a lost puppy at the plate, and he's been awful defensively. Where I'm starting to wonder if he even belongs in the big leagues. It's a deeper organizational problem is why Cleveland's in the position they're in. Now, as far as, they got time. Wrong way. They don't. They're on a 10-game losing streak. They're 8 games under 500. You get 10 games under 500, it's gonna make it awfully tough for you to even be sniffing the postseason. And the AL they ought to, if they really want a chance, they ought to be thinking wild card at best, because right now the Detroit Tigers are the best team in the American League and can practically do it all if once they add an arm or two, which I have no doubt Scott Harris is going to do, especially with that farm system. He can acquire anybody under the sun there. Boy, oh boy, you're going to be in for a long day, especially at home at Comerica Park. But Cleveland, they are 8 games under 500. The trade deadline is when urgency is supposed to happen. you have to prove to the front office that you should get help, because front offices aren't just going to trade away young players just to make you look a little better for a game. They're doing it if you have a legitimate shot at making the postseason. For right now, the Cleveland Guardians do not. They're just too weak. They're just too weak offensively. The pitching hasn't been great this year, and I just can't see them doing it. They are off. They are a train off the rails right now with that 10-game losing streak.
Well, you know why my voice is going to last this entire show? People like him. That's why. Number one, if you're the Cleveland Guardians fans, you're in trouble. They are in trouble. Period. Stephen Vogt, manager of the year, great. Ended up beating the Tigers and lost to the Yankees. Okay, so that's good. That. But the reality of the situation is they are in trouble. You cannot have a free ball at the All-Star break and then find yourself scrambling into the break what you're going to do, because at that point the trade deadline is pretty close by. So I'm with everything that Eric has to say, and then some. If you're a Guardians fan, you're in trouble, period, and I'll leave it at that. One more team I want to get to. Okay, you want to add something, JD?
Just quickly. Eric, yes, can I just copy and paste what you said about the Guardians to the Atlanta Braves? Sounded perfect, sounded great, completely agree with it. And then P digits.
I don't think that's the issue with the Braves.
Okay. No, I mean, essentially what you said is that from what I gather is like they're too far behind at this point. Like,
right.
There is no astronomical run, like unless you literally get it 180. You know, right. A lot of people always want to say you want to do 360. You know, but no, that would just put you in the same spot. You want to do a complete 180 turn of what you've done all season, and you want to move forward and make the playoffs. That's what I meant. You could copy and paste, and then Scott, I'll throw it right back to you. Just add on to P Digit's comment. He mentioned the Yankees and the Guardians need to go back to being called the Indians, but how about their play on the field, though, P Digit? So that's my question. We're getting into the 108 stitches of baseball over here, sir. So we're gonna have to dive a little deeper into talking about their team name, P Digits. Love you, bro. Scott.
All right, thanks. I appreciate you telling me to take my own show over. I appreciate it. The guy's on natural already. We got Robert Redford on there. Great stuff. Robert Redford reference to J.D. Wyatt. Great stuff. Southern Fried. Gentlemen, you can only imagine how Southern Fried you would have been out in the UK, because I'll tell you, if you had to deal with some of the people I had to deal with this, you wouldn't be Southern Fried. Okay, it is what it is. You'd be frying a few people if somebody had to tell you that they wouldn't let you put your luggage on the back of their thing, and then you had to say to leave one of us back there, but that'll be for another story off camera, although I kind of tipped my hand a little bit some of the stories that you guys get used to later on down the road. All right, reality of the situation is this. I'll go back to what Eric said. Best case scenario for the Guardians/Indians, wild card, because the Tigers right now probably have another move or two to be made at the trade deadline. We'll get to them later in the show, but that piggybacks off of Eric just a little bit as well. Great stuff all the way around. And Southern Fried, one of the reasons they're on here is I enjoy the idea of having another radio host on there that knows the word segue. Now spell the word segue back and forth. Glad you're back on, Brewski. Glad to see you. Okay, great stuff. So, all right, let's continue on. One more team I want to get to in this segment. Then we're going to go to a quick station break with Candy Ebling. And then we have a few other topics we're going to get to as well. Have a loaded show here. We've been gone. So we're getting Stephen and J.D. Wyatt did a really good job 2 weeks ago filling in for us. And then last week, Stephen brought on Pat Combs, right? And he did a one-on-one interview. So 108 stitches kept going through while we were doing the break. Great stuff by these two people on our screen here tonight. You get to join the regular crew as well. All right, Washington Nationals are 37 and 50th year. They fired both their GM Mike Rizzo and manager Dave Martinez. Rizzo has been with the club since 2007. Martinez obviously has been, excuse me, let me roll over that again. Rizzo's been with the club since 2006. Pardon me. Okay. And then Martinez with 2017. And Martinez has a 500-621 record. Both were champions in 2019 when Washington defeated Houston 4-3. Miguel Cairo's been named the interim manager. I wouldn't care whether Curious George the Monkey is the interim manager with this circus. They have a lot of work to do. They really do. I understand the need to make a change there. And if you're going to do it, you might as well get it over with. That way, these other two can find jobs elsewhere, somewhere else, because they're both quality baseball people. That's all I'm going to say about this myself. So with that said, I'm going to turn over to Southern Fried Gentleman here and give you the segue back, and then I'm going to go around from JD all the way up through and with Steven with the last word. Go ahead. What are your thoughts about the Nationals?
I'm impressed. They fired their general manager and their head coach because they weren't where they expected to be. Cough, cough. Braves. Why are we still doing the same dance? Okay, I don't want to see the night again. Nationals. They're actually one of those teams that went on one of those crazy runs. I mean, they were, I think, 19-31 on May. Is that correct, Eric? Is that?
Yeah. Yes, they were. They were
19-31 when they went and won the World Series. And so, the Braves, they started out terrible. We kind of hoped our way back. But right now, as a Braves fan, I absolutely applaud, hand clap, Nationals for firing their GM and their head coach. No, it's not cool to fire people. I don't like doing that. But at this point, Brian Snickers should have retired last year. The NL East is just stacked. Baseball is fantastic. I love talking baseball. I can go down it all day, but that's about all I got to say about that.
All right, George, take it from there.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, they got the one World Series championship, that being, the manager and the vice president of baseball ops. I really think that it's very disappointing. They have had some really lean years, and they're looking like they're not going to do anything this year. So obviously, this happens once in a while. I've seen it in Detroit when they fired Dave Dombrowski. I mean, but this is a situation where you're canning not only the manager, but you're canning your main guy as far as running baseball ops go. It's never a pleasant move. And obviously, Cairo has stepped in, and obviously we'll see what he does. I don't know if they'll consider him at all for the full-time job, but it's going to play out during the rest of the season. But, the funny thing is, Detroit went in there and they lost 2 out of 3 to Washington before they went to Cleveland. Okay. Then Washington lays an egg again at home against the Red Sox. Yeah. So funny how things work out. Not to say that was any kind of foretelling of what was going to happen, but they look like, as the saying goes, a little bit of world beaters against the Tigers. But
hey, Joe, George,
yeah.
Here's the thing. You're getting ready for really? Seriously, really? There's been a move that's been in the work for a while. Quit while you're ahead, sick them head. Don't justify it with a Tiger series where they walked in there and beat them 2 out of 3. Really? Seriously? Really? I haven't done that in a while except for people on the road. You're done. Going over to Eric. You get on my nerves with this segment. Really? Seriously? Really? All right, go ahead, Eric.
Well, the move didn't surprise me at all because I thought it was going to happen, but I wasn't expecting it to happen the timing of it was kind of a little weird, especially with a week before the draft is set to happen. The Nationals happen to have the first overall pick. Dave Martinez, his fate was kind of already sealed to begin with because he was kind of on borrowed time there where he was kind of taking his victory laps by, being the manager who ultimately got them to the World Series, which, well deserved. He deserves an opportunity to do that. And obviously the team kind of pulled a Miami Marlins style fire sale at the end of that World Series. I mean, they tried to keep Steven Str-
You're on mute, Eric. Eric, you're on mute.
Hold on.
Eric, you're there.
Oh, okay.
He pulls. There's the warning signs over there not to do that contract, but the Lerner family was stupid to do it anyway. But Martinez's fate was kind of already sealed when he goes ahead up onto the podium and says, it's never the coach's fault. I think his fate, he was kind of tipping his hand there that he wasn't long for the job to begin with. So him getting fired really wasn't surprised. The timing of the Rizzo firing was a little surprising because the guy's accomplished a lot in Washington. He's a hell of a team builder. He practically robbed the Padres and got multiple All-Stars out of the Juan Soto trade, where you got Mackenzie Gore, who's proven to be an ace of that rotation. C.J. Abrams is one of the best shortstops in the National League, and James Wood is breaking out this year, and then there's a couple more guys who are supposed to come up here soon. So it was a little surprising of the timing, but to me, it wasn't a shock that both guys were fired. It was the timing was the only surprising part, given where the Nationals are. But here's the thing: I do put it on the Lerner family too, because with the young players they have, they can't be too farm happy. Too many teams are farm happy and development happy. You got to be willing to spend some money. The Lerner family has shown shown that they're willing to do that in the past, and this year it's going to take a hell of a lot more than trading for Nathaniel Lau to get back to the postseason. So, it's also on the Lerner family for the situation that the Nationals are in, and them kind of having the cold feet at the altar saying, should we sell or should we not sell? And then trying to kind of get out of Steven Strasburg's contract, which that's been a circus in and of itself.
Okay. Candy?
For the fourth consecutive year, the Nationals payroll ranks in the bottom third of the league after nearly a decade in the upper third of the sport. So if you're not willing to pay and you're not good at developing players and developing a farm system and young players, what do you expect? Like, if you're not going to pay for the really good players, then you're going to have the young players. Well, you have to develop the young players, and if you don't develop them, where are you going to go and what do you expect? So do I put it all on the GM and the manager? No, I put it on ownership as well. All three of them. But obviously you don't fire ownership. So who takes the blame? It's going to be the coach and the GM. But at this point, they've been there for how long? They should be able to develop their players. The one thing I will look at is and I compare them to Milwaukee because you all know I'm a Milwaukee Brewers fan. Milwaukee Brewers do not have the highest payroll, but yet they somehow get the talent that they do get from the players that they have. They know how to develop them and help them, and they're always nearly contenders. Now, I'm not going to say they make the playoffs all the time, but they have better showings than the others.
All right, Steven.
I mean, it's to be expected with this team. They've been the third worst team in the National League for the better part of the last handful of years, as Candy was already mentioned. It's been known for over at least over the past 5 that they're not willing to pay anybody, and even as Eric was mentioned, they still got that Steven Strasburg contract to kind of get rid of. So, I mean, I guess they're trusting their own process, but they're somebody someone's head has to roll. So manager goes, GM goes. You still have to find comfortable guys. Not just yes men to take orders from the owner. You have to find somebody who's gonna put their team in a position to win. They gotta find young talent through the draft that's going to help them as fast as possible, because since winning that championship, this is where they've been, at the bottom of the NL East. So bring in a couple free agents that aren't up where there's of an age and maybe flying under the radar to kind of help spell some of that and start getting back to winning baseball games, because the past 5 years at least, this is where they've been, at the bottom of the standings, regardless of payroll or anything like that. They haven't brought anybody in. The guys that they had there that brought them the World Series, they're all but gone, washed up, and moved on to other places. You have to. You have to find ways to give yourself at least a chance, even if you're not going to compete with other franchises money wise. But you at least talent wise have to try to at least make it look like you're doing, outside of trying to pull a Sixers run in baseball with tanking to get some top picks.
All right. The only thing I'm going to say to close the topic, I want to go to station break in a moment, is this. Rizzo and Martinez will not be out of work long, period. They won't. They were a winning combination to win a World Series. They'll gain employment. One other thing I want to get to before we go to that station break Congratulations to former Tigers manager Jim Leyland, who was inducted into the Miami Marlins Hall of Fame Sunday. That was the inaugural class. The Brewers ended up taking 2 or 3 in that series, and that happened to be one of the games on Sunday. Candy and I were obviously coming in from London. Some quick thoughts here on Leyland, actually, who his only World Series came via South Florida, albeit at Joe Robbie Stadium. But we'll make this one quick, then we'll go to that station break. Stephen, some thoughts about Jim Leyland and the way he worked his magic in Miami. Obviously, that was the team that Wayne Huizinga spent a lot of money to put together, but he still has a World Series ring no matter how he came up with it.
I mean, he should have won one in Pittsburgh.
Right.
You know, let's be real. When he had Van Slyke, Bonds, Bonilla, they were kicking butt for the better part of that late 80s, early 90s run, and it all fell apart. He got ran out of town, and he got sent down there to the Marlins to basically start over, and he got lucky that the franchise wanted to pay a little bit and bring in some guys to help contribute and got that World Series in '97. The expansion team on top of signing key free agents is what made that happen. So hats off to Jim Leyland. He was he was a notable guy for a lot of that NL East teams. Regardless if he was in your clubhouse or on the other side, he was a staple. He's one of the better managers from that era that probably should have won a couple more but didn't. But hey, man, he at least got there. He got his World Series trophy. Now he's at least in the Florida Marlins Hall of Fame. We'll see about baseball.
I think he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. If I remember it.
Yes.
All right, let's turn over to Candy. I want to get through this one, and then we're going to go to a station break. Go ahead, Can.
I think it's sad sometimes when we think you have to win it all in order to be considered a really great coach or a really great player. Like, baseball is a game. It's a team sport. So, it's more than just one person. And I think you can be a great coach and get your team close, but not always there because maybe you don't have the money, the pitching, the whatever. But Leyland is a good coach. I'm happy for him. I'm glad Miami gave him that honor and put him in their Hall of Fame. And good for him.
I've had an opportunity to get to know Jim real well on a few occasions. One of the nice guy. I've taken a few pictures of him. He won't ask for classier individuals than Jim Leyland, and I'm glad he ended up making it into the first inaugural Marlins Hall of Fame. He deserved to be there. 2-year run, but at least if that one of those 2 years earned you a World Series title, not the worst thing in the world. The other reason why he lasted 1 year in Colorado is the Mile High City ran him out of town, and he couldn't go out there and play. He went there to manage baseball, not wiffle ball. So we'll leave it at that, because that's what Colorado is all about. All right, Southern Fried, go ahead.
Jim Leyland, I remember him from Detroit. That's how I'll always remember him. Fantastic coach. Obviously well-deserved to be into the Miami Hall of Fame as well as the Baseball Hall of Fame. Some coaches, man, they got it figured out. And he was one of those guys. If you hired him, you knew you were getting a daggum good baseball coach.
I like the word daggum. You only sound like Bobby Bowden. Good stuff. Okay. Well, daggum, turn it over to George Eichhorn.
Oh, well, I'm happy for Jim, of course. And, we've had him here in Detroit, but the Miami situation was ideal for him to come in, and they won the championship. The money was being spent on players, but it takes more than that. As we know, it takes the on-field presence, and Jim definitely deserves it. So hats off to Leyland. He's in several halls of fame, and it really is a great tribute to him and that wonderful time that he had in Miami. I'm sure he'd won. All managers want to win more, and he should have won a couple more. But hey, the thing is he was saluted by the team that he wanted with, and hats off for being in that inaugural class.
Well, not only that, think about it. When Miguel Cabrera came to town, the Marlins gave him a pretty good little run there too, and he was healthy the year that he came down to play. We'll leave it at that. All right, Eric Katz has the final word on this one.
I mean, Jim Leyland, okay, first off, to correct Steven here, Jim Leyland wasn't run out of town at Pittsburgh. I promised you. He left on his own. He could have managed there longer, but decided not to because he wanted to he wanted to go somewhere and win. It's what he wanted to do. I mean, he still lives in Pittsburgh for that matter. So if you think the guy was run out of town and is still and would still live there, you're nuts. Leyland very deserving of that. Led the Marlins to their first World Series title. Obviously the guy won everywhere he went, with the exception of Colorado, but he was only there a year, and he wasn't run out of town there either. He left on his own and didn't manage for any. It was such a bad experience that it took Dave Dombrowski to get him out of retirement for him to come back.
Exactly. I know. I was going to ask you about that. No, wiffle ball ran him out of the Mile High City with all those humors and all that, man. Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm going to say this, and I want to let you continue because you got me going a little on this one. I was waiting. At some point, you're going to get me going. Now you really did. First of all, Mike Hampton went there and left Atlanta to play there so he could go out there and hit, and he hit a lot of home runs in Colorado. Yeah, Mike Hampton going to Colorado to hit home runs, and he couldn't pitch there worth a darn, but still, it doesn't matter. But, the Mile High City ran him out, and you're right, Eric, okay? Dave Dombrowski rescued him from Colorado to manage in Detroit. Continue on. Make sure I want to get that out there. Good stuff, though, Eric.
Yes, he definitely could have stayed in Pittsburgh. He just chose not to, and he still lives in Pittsburgh. And I'll tell you what, you talk to Pirates fans this day, they love Leyland's Pirates. They still talk about him to this day. And so ultimately the Pirates didn't want to spend the money, and Leyland opted to go to Florida, where Wayne Hadzinga spent some money, and they won a World Series. Although that World Series was no walk in the park either, because that Indians team had 3 guys who hit 100 or more RBIs. Try competing with that lineup, as well as a decent pitching staff to boot as well. Where it surprised me that team didn't win a World Series ever, but he's deserving of it. He's won practically everywhere he went, and Jim Leyland is still very much loved in Florida, as well as Detroit and Pittsburgh, and not really Colorado, just because he wasn't there very long. Aside from that reason, he himself even describes himself as a pitcher's manager, where he's he's the one who he likes to manage in places where you could pitch. And I promise you, in Colorado, pitching is a lost art out there, unless your name is Ubaldo Jimenez.
Good. All right. You know what, Katie, station break time. Go ahead.
You are listening to the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and the foreword was written by another panelist, George Eichhorn. Great job, gentlemen. It talks about Scott's 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved, old school media versus new school media. It's a great book for anybody that wants to get into the media business, or anybody that's trying to break through in the media business, or anybody that wants to listen and read about some awesome stories about the media business. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Get your copy today. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of other great content. Go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you listen to your podcast. If you want to advertise, you can call Scott, 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Candy. All right, we talked about this earlier. We'll get into it now. Aaron Boone told reporters that Clark Schmidt will likely need Tommy John surgery to fix a UCL tear. We're going to begin this segment with Eric. You mentioned it earlier. Yeah. So is Schmidt better off just getting this surgery over with? Will he be better than ever? Because I know it's a big jolt to the Yankees right now, Eric.
I mean, what other choice does he have? Right. I mean, there's what other choice do you have in terms of getting the surgery? I mean, you might as well just nuke your elbow now, because even if I just can't see him trying to rehab. I just don't see rehabbing as an option. It's just something that I just don't see it as possible. I mean, it's just unfortunate. It's an unfortunate blow to the Yankees at a very awful time, but you got to accept the cards that are dealt to you. And unfortunately, it's an ugly deck. And because Clark Schmidt was actually having a great year, and he was on a hell of a tear during this time, and he's kind of developed into a solid number 3, number 4 pitcher at this right now. But unfortunately, you gotta play with the hands that you're dealt. Baseball is a game of unknowns where you don't know what's going to happen until the 9 men go onto the field and are in between the white lines, and this is just one of those things. So if I'm Clark Schmidt, you got to get it done, man, because you're doing yourself more harm and the team more harm than good by staying out there. Am I sad that he's hurt? Of course I am. He was having a great year. It's a tough break, especially given the position that the Yankees are currently in. But you got to get it done, man. Sometimes in life you got to do the things that are no fun, and this is one of them.
All right, let me point out some standings going into tonight's action. Toronto Blue Jays are leading the American League East with a 52-38 mark. The Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays are 3 games back going into tonight's action. And we're going into tonight's action. I haven't looked at the scores tonight. I know the Tigers are beating the Rays for a while, but I want to keep this program moving along at the pace that it's going at. George, I have to have a book on this one. We're talking about Clark Schmidt, obviously a move that the Yankees have to make. Some quick thoughts. Everybody can move this segment along a little quicker.
Sure. And just briefly, he underwent the Tommy John surgery back in 2017. And if he has it again now, he'll probably be sidelined, of course, all next season. He's 29, so he's still got a lot of baseball left in him, like you said, Eric. And really, he's had a great year, 3.32 ERA and 14 starts. But, it's never an easy decision. But the fact of the matter is this guy's still got a lot of baseball left, like I said. And it's tough having a surgery twice like that. But boy, oh boy, it's more commonplace, unfortunately.
All right, Taylor Phillips, we miss you as well. Look forward to having you on Wednesday night's edition of the Sports Exchange. And on Wednesday night, we might even consider incorporating you in the sports wrap rotation once in a while. And we'll go from there on Thursday. But we're just trying to get through 1 week at a time as Candy and I go back on the road after 4 days at home, which I call a little mini cup of coffee back home to go out there and watch our stuff and then go back for a couple of days. All right, JD, we're talking about Mr. Clark Schmidt. Some quick thoughts about him.
I hate it, man. I hate the ACL tears. I hate the Tommy John surgery.
Right.
Like George said, like everybody said, it's become common for a player to have to go through 2 of them.
Right.
I'm worried about Spencer Strider coming off of 1, and then Charlie Morton. I mean, my goodness, we see this dude. He's been pitching in the MLB for 20 plus years. They said that he hit the highest RPM, rotations per minute, on a baseball that any player has hit this year. Guess what rotations per minute equals? This elbow right here. And it's just amazing that Morton, whatever he's done, has worked. He hasn't had those injuries. But, I mean, that is where we are. The pitchers are trying to put too much rotation on the baseball.
Okay, fair enough. Candy?
There's a lot of Tommy John surgeries going on. And I know we're going to be talking about one of the players coming up. It's not easy to always come back from this, but you look at like Sandy Alcantara. He was a Cy Young Award winner, and he's coming back from Tommy John, and he's just not the same. It takes a while. Yuri Perez is coming back from Tommy John surgery as well. All these players. Part of what I think it is I really think one trainer once told me that it's these kids that are specializing in one sport and only one sport.
Right.
When you do that from the beginning of your career all the way through, it's the same motion all the time. You're putting the same stress on the same motions. Whereas if you're a multi-sport person, you're working all kinds of different muscles, and therefore then you don't necessarily, and I'm not saying always, have the same likeliness to have the same injury over and over.
Fair enough. Okay, Steven.
I mean, this is This is something me and Pat Combs were talking about. Him obviously being a pitcher that, injury cut short his career. One of the questions I asked him, what did he feel about it? And it's a couple things. It's how they're coached, when these guys are being coached, and how they're brought up throwing certain pitches and things of that nature. So it's as Boone already said, it's inevitable, the surgery, and the fact that he's already had it twice. It just goes by how these pitchers are being taught. But it also plays into another thing with the things that we talked about while you were gone, is the upgrades in the medical research and recovery times of these type of injuries, where 20 years ago this injury was a career killer, but now it's something that not only can these athletes overcome them, but they can also have them multiple times and still, for the most part, not miss a beat. So it's unfortunate for the Yankees and Schmidt to have the surgery again, probably done for the better part of a year. Hopefully it's less. Hopefully he can start throwing again, but by at least spring training. We'll see how that all plays out. But I mean, it's one of the things that this is unfortunately a part of the game now. It's a common injury, as common as turf toe used to be for NFL players. But this is where we're at with the sport. But it's unfortunate for him. It's unfortunate for the Yankees. Hopefully, he has a full and speedy recovery, and we get to see him spinning that ball again soon.
Yeah, the only words I don't like what you said, but it's true multiple times. That really annoys me, not because of what you said, it's just the fact that it's a recurring injury and people have to do it multiple times. You'd think that after the first time you become a lot stronger. I don't know, but that's just the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, if you're throwing that fast, 95 to 100 miles an hour, on a consistent basis, you put a lot of wear and tear on the arm. But one thing I was looking for every one of you guys to say, which I didn't hear, is this. These injuries don't just occur up at the professional level. It depends on how the youngster is throwing. And I out over your Combs interview, I've been so busy, but I wouldn't be surprised if you mentioned what happens when you're in youth baseball as well as high school as well as college that lead up to the bottom line. So
what we're talking about. Yep.
Right. Yeah. But knowing I've been in enough of these conversations and the fact that you had a one-on-one interview, I wouldn't be surprised if that topic did come along. And if it did, then
that's pretty much where he went with it, was that.
Right. So then what I'm going to say is this, and I'll repeat myself now. Don't be surprised if a lot of this stuff happens way before we're hearing up to this point. I also encourage you to look at 108 Inches Baseball Talk with Steven's one-on-one interview with Pat Combs. That's a great one if you really want to learn about pitching. I have a lot of other pitching guests that will be coming up in the near future, but I'll divulge them as they get closer to putting them on the air. So great stuff, great topic. We'll continue on. JD Wyatt, how are you doing on time right now? I know you have to have an art out soon.
No, I think I'm good currently. We're good.
Okay. Just want to make sure
that I heard some noises. That's what I was like.
No. I just want to be respectful of your time situation, so I get you in on every key topic that you're able to become a part of. That's all. Okay, good.
The grease is hot, my friend. Let's cook.
Oh, that's what I like to hear. Yeah, keep that grease hopping in the chat room. You're doing a good job manning it too, by the way. Okay, so here, let's go on to this. Although if you're the Dodgers, you wish it wasn't hot. For what I'm about to tell you, do you think the Houston Astros get geared up when they go to LA and face the Dodgers? The Astros outscored LA 29-6 in a series sweep. Get this. Here are the scores that you had. Astros 18-1, 6-4, and 5-1 in order. The Houston Chronicle says Astros manager Joe Espada says our team really liked coming here and feed off the environment. Duh. I wonder if that is the most obvious statement on the planet. None more, it seems, than Jose Altuve and Lance McCullers Jr. So, all right, Mr. Wyatt, what are your thoughts about what the Astros are cooking up at Dodger Stadium?
To go on the road and absolutely southern fry up the Dodgers like that. I mean, 18-1. What was the other one? 6-1?
Well, 18-1, 6-4, and 5-1 are your scores.
So they had one close game. Astros absolutely came to play, but I don't like to see it. I mean, man, the Astros, they were so good for such a long time. They were right on the cusp of winning too much for everyone to start hating them.
Right.
Like, it's never worn off for the Yankees or
Yeah.
the Patriots or the Chiefs. Like, it hasn't worn off for those teams winning too much. But the Astros almost got there. And I don't know if you guys saw this, if y'all want to tie this into your thoughts as well. Did y'all hear what Oral Hershiser had to say about
As a
this
matter of fact, I
Astros?
did. But now that you brought it up, you can go ahead and I don't want you to mention that. Go ahead. Floor's yours on that.
Well, I am sorry if I stole your thunder.
No, you didn't
Okay.
actually. I'm encouraging you to say it.
No, yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying I'm sorry if I took one of your notes. Let me word that.
No,
better.
you didn't.
Okay,
I'm too busy
but
making the show goes right.
listen, Oral, he said it, and it kind of, whenever you have a negative connotation about things, it's hard to get rid of it.
Right.
And then you have a broadcaster and Oral Hershiser saying it. He's like, man, it's almost like they know the curveball is coming. It's almost like they knew what pitch was coming.
Yeah.
And here we go again. He's going to open up the whole other can of worms.
Right.
Will there be an MLB investigation as to if they hacked the rom-coms? I don't think so. I think players sometimes it looks like a freaking beach ball, and sometimes it looks like a golf ball, and you're swinging at it regardless. I mean, and I think that's the case. But for Oral Hershiser to come out and say this in the broadcast is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, no, AKA sign stealing. By the way, who's that little guy there? Hello, little guy. Welcome to the big show. So you talk about sign stealing. We're talking about beach ball and a golf ball. All right, George. Why don't you pick up on that?
Well, the Astros are on fire right now. No question about it. You got to go back to 2008, the last time they went into Dodger Stadium and swept the LA Dodgers. They're clicking on all cylinders right now. I mean, the American League is still wide open as far as who's going to win it all. And I'll tell you what, Houston is right up there. They've done a great job this year. No question about it. Dodgers continue to show that, hey, you just can't buy a team. And obviously we know that. So there's a lot of great baseball coming out of the Astros right now. And as far as Oral goes, I don't even want to comment on that. I hope that's not true. But look out. The Astros got a lot of firepower. It's going to be a fun race the rest of the way. No question about it.
Well, I mean, with all due respect to Southern Fried Gentleman, he was making a good reference. I read about it. I wouldn't care if I was in Siberia to read on that. I had a good enough plan where I could at least keep track of this stuff, even though I couldn't get YouTube where I was at on a ship. But the reality is, if you're going to rehash sign stealing, it's the truth. I mean, anytime your team's getting beat 18-1, aren't you going to look for anything to try to keep the show a little bit interesting and bring that up, whether you think it's good enough or not? If you're a broadcaster, you're in an lopsided game. You're looking for everything you can to keep the game interesting so you don't lose your audience. So what J.D. Wyatt said isn't really that far off base. That's why I let him continue with his thought as a result of it, right, J.D.? Say yes. Say yes. Nod your head. Okay. Nod your head after me. Okay. Thank you very much. You don't have to copy and paste that. You did what you But with that said, we'll turn it over to Eric Katz. Okay. Sign stealing all over again. 18-1, 5-1, 6-4. What's the difference? 29-6 and they got swept out in L.A. That was not a movie. That was a mauling. All right. Pick it up from there, Eric.
I mean, sometimes a team gets it handed to them at home. I mean, it happens. That's been happening since probably baseball was first invented. As far as the Astros being hated goes, no, make no mistake about it. They're already above the hate line in terms of when sign stealing happens. I promise you, there is no love lost between a ton of other baseball fans. I assure you, if this was back in the day, someone would have chucked a beer bottle at Jose Altuve and hit him in the back. But so there's no love lost there in terms of just being hated enough. No, the hate's there. I mean, I'm telling you, it is according to the hate thermometer, it probably shattered the glass just like the Grinch's heart. But it is. But in terms of that though, the Astros are playing good ball. I don't think we're talking about enough. The Astros are playing good ball. This is a team that's experienced. This is a team that knows how to win. They've been there, done that, and the American League is wide open. People are forgetting that no team is running away with it. This thing is wide open, and it wouldn't shock me if the team that you least expect it makes a run in the American League.
Good points. All right, Candy.
The Dodgers are still up 7 games over the Padres in their division, even with losing like that. And let's face it, well, if you knew the score right now, the Dodgers are losing to my Milwaukee Brewers 7-0 right now, middle of the 6th. So the Dodgers bats have gone cold.
Good.
They're in a slump. They can be in a slump for the rest of the series against the Brewers, and then whatever they can go and get their bats
Tell me
back.
how you really feel. Okay.
Every team does that. We've said that there's teams that go through slumps, whether it be bats, whether it be pitching, whether it be both. The Dodgers will be just fine. The Astros are just playing. They play good ball at the right time against, a team in LA. They wanted to strut their stuff.
All right, Steven.
Couldn't be happier that the Astros are beating up on the Dodgers, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, there's a couple good points that all of my my cohorts on here said. The Astros aren't getting enough love. They're a retooled championship team. From a run from a handful of years ago. They still have a good amount of firepower there. They're a team that still knows how to win baseball games, and would not be surprised to see them be the quote unquote dark horse to come out of the American League. I mean, hell, we're only a few years removed from the Texas Rangers winning a World Series. So, I mean, it shouldn't be surprising to see Houston put something together there. The Dodgers, I think they should be happy that they're up, because they have just about as many holes as some of these other teams. They pounced on bad teams early, and if you're a Dodger fan, you're hope that they don't get exposed anytime soon, because they have some problems there, not outside of just your normal up and down slumping that you see out of baseball teams from time to time. So that's just my thought on the Stros versus the Dodgers. We'll see, how it shakes out for both of these teams. But if I'm a betting man, I would have to say Houston has the better chance of making a long October run over the Dodgers.
Yeah, you know what? You won't get a debate from me on that one, that's for sure, because right now the Astros are playing pretty good ball. This is their manager's second year, I believe, so now he has a chance to kind of get used to what's going on anyways. And not only that, George Eichhorn, I'll tell you what, be thankful that the Tigers may have lost the first 3 to the Dodgers, but should they face each other down the road, I have a feeling that outcome will be a bit differently, because the Tigers are playing better baseball with much underrated talent compared to what the Dodgers are doing. And we won't get into any tiny pitching or any of that. That's for another night. But good points all the way around. I think everybody provided with everything that we were looking for on that segment. We got next few topics I don't have to spend as much time on, but they're pretty good facts to put out here nonetheless. The Pittsburgh Pirates are the first team in MLB history that have back-to-back series, 3+ games with a sweep of shutouts, for and against each other, losing 1-0, 1-0, 6-0 to Seattle. Get this, okay? And then winning 5-0, 1-0, 7-0 versus the Cardinals. We don't need anything long and drawn out of this, Stephen, but what are your thoughts about such a very interesting way of all these goose eggs being placed in back-to-back series with the Pirates being involved in 2? I mean, to be the first in MLB history to do something is one thing. To be the first in MLB history to do this is a totally different animal. Go ahead, Stephen.
I mean, in reality, they only have one guy on that team that is recognizable to the mass public of the baseball world, and I think he set it like a major league record of giving up X amount of earned runs and just getting nothing, absolutely nothing from his offense. He's one of the better pitchers in the league. He's one of the premier pitchers in the league. He's only been in the league a handful of years. If you're a Pirates fan, I would be generally nervous that they might move him before they can start putting a team around him that is worth a while. But it's rough sledding in Pittsburgh. Outside of the Steelers, it's just been rough.
Is that a Paul Skenes reference?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good enough. Quit while you're ahead. Go ahead, Candy.
you know, you got to be able to hit the ball, and if you can't hit and string hits together, you're not going to score runs unless you're. And sometimes these guys are swinging for the fences, and then they strike out so many times. So batting average makes a big difference. They rank 29th in runs, 25th in hits, 24th in average, 24th in on base percentage, 30th in home runs. They got to do better. I mean, it's a tough game, but if you don't hit and you don't run and you can't score, and you need to score in order to win games because you're not going to win a game with a goose egg.
Okay, fair enough. JD.
Yeah, exactly like Candy just said. A lot of teams are trying to play chess when you just need to play checkers. Batters, whatever happened to just putting the ball in play? Like, stop it with all the strikeouts. We were talking about, Scott, you mentioned the Barry Bonds thing a while ago, intentional walks. We just saw Woods the other day.
Right.
First player to ever be walked that many times in a game.
Right.
Do something that makes sense on the baseball field, y'all. Like, we're seeing major league players make little league mistakes.
True.
Play freaking baseball. Play it properly. And I promise you, at the end of the day, you'll have a chance to win the game.
Okay, good enough. George?
Well, think about this. The Pirates had 30 innings of scoreless baseball. I mean, it's incredible. It really is. I mean, like you said, they lost those 3 to the Mariners, 1-0, 1-0, 6-0, and then they won the Cardinals. I mean, it's just craziness stuff that's going on. But yeah, I have never seen that kind of stuff go on where they're involved in shutouts 6 consecutive times. It's just amazing. What it does show is that there's still a big discrepancy between the Pirates and what they need to do to be more consistent. Yes, I mean, pitching is good, but you got to have the bats too. So, I mean, I really think that the Pirates are going to come not make any playoff run this year, but they have a good future ahead of them. But they got to have more consistent scoring.
Well, all I'd say is I don't care if you got Don Kelly as your manager, Gene Lamont as assistant. They don't swing the baseball bat like J.D. Wyatt said. Chess and checkers is an excellent analogy when describing what he was trying to come across. Eric has the last word on this topic. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, nothing with the Pirates really shocks me anymore, given that they become practically the doormat for the rest of baseball. We can criticize Bob Nutting until the cows come home. They've been doing it for years, and he still doesn't hear anything. That's just how it's been over there. I feel awful for Paul Skeens, who is becoming who I think is becoming the best pitcher in the National League, but Pittsburgh will do nothing to support him. It's awful. The guy, any other lineup, the guy would be winning a lot more games and putting up a lot more gaudier stats. But right now, the only thing attractive about the Pirates these days is their ballpark. That's it. The rest of the time, it's just all it is just I don't know if I'm watching a Major League Baseball team on the field.
Right. Fair enough. Okay. Well, tell you what, we're going to Milwaukee. Well, sort of. Brandon Woodruff, first start since 2003 was a good one. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 8 strikeouts. Guess what, Candy? You're going to lead off with this one. What are your thoughts about the brand man back on the hill?
It's great to see his first major league pitch in 652 days was a strike. His first out was a strikeout. His first 2 innings were perfect. His third inning featured a fastball that hit the stadium scoreboard at 96 miles an hour. After having right shoulder surgery and a grueling rehab stretch, even longer by a sore right ankle and a line drive off the elbow, he's finally back. And kudos, I was so happy. I saw an interview that he gave after the game. His wife and his 2 kids were there to see him pitch. His daughter isn't that old. He's like most of her life, she has seen is him rehabbing and rehabbing and rehabbing. His son is going to turn a year in the next couple weeks, so he hasn't seen him pitch. But And he's not young either. So we all talk about, these guys having surgery. He's I think he's 30 or 31. I think he's lower 30s. But kudos to him because he can be such a dominant force. And that's exactly what the Brewers need is good pitching right now to kick it into a higher gear since we need to, since we're not leading the division right now. But kudos to him because you always love seeing a pitcher get back to good status after they've had a surgery like this and it not being a career-ending surgery.
Great stuff, Candy. We'll turn over to Eric since you're living in the area.
Oh man, Brandon Woodruff has been through so much. He was originally supposed to be ready by opening day. He missed all of the previous year. Was supposed to be ready by opening day. It wasn't. Had setback after setback after setback. I don't think anybody would have blamed him if he decided to retire, just because, man, there's only so much you can put the body through. But he kept with it. I am so happy that he's back. And so far, at least in his first start, I know it's one start though. He looks like pre-injury Brandon Woodruff, because when the guy's healthy, he's easily a Cy Young caliber pitcher. And he could very easily be an all-star if he stays healthy for long enough. But the fact that Brewers got him back though is just huge for their rotation, which has been dealing with injuries all season long. Like most of the projected guys that they were supposed to have in their rotation are on the injured list. The guys they're using now, they were forced to either sign or trade for because they didn't have enough pitchers to form a rotation. But the fact that, they got Woodruff back is going to be huge for this team going forward. And, with what the other guys are doing, it just makes their rotation that much better. So instead of having to play at the trade deadline with playing the trading derby for a pitcher, because, you're going to have to overpay for this coming trade deadline, they can just focus on other areas, like maybe adding a big bat or two into the lineup, and then boom, this team is ready for October.
Okay. George?
Well, trust me, the Brewers are making some good noise in that division, and the Chicago Cubs are on the alert. Getting him back is a big move, and obviously a big advantage for the Brewers, like you guys mentioned. And the fact of the matter is that he had not started a game since September 23 of 2023 at Miami. And, it's ironic, the Brewers and the Marlins were in that game together, but this is something that you've been hoping for, a kid that, worked his butt off, as so many of these ball players do, to get back into pitching form. And boy, oh boy, he came out like lightning. He really did. I mean, he did a great job. And I really think that Brandon's, 6 strong innings in that game shows a lot. And like you mentioned, Eric, I mean, it really is a big boost for the starting staff for the Brewers.
Okay. JD? Yeah, there you go. That's better. I can hear you now. I didn't take sign language. Go ahead.
I was about to say, man, I was on a streak. I was doing good, and I almost did it, y'all. But that still counts as 0. I was not muted when I started talking. I unmuted myself before I started talking. So I'm gonna make it through this show without talking 0 times on mute. But the Brewers, man, love it. They're always one of those teams that, nobody really ever talks about. It's one of those teams that they're like the mid-level. I was texting with somebody about it earlier. They want to be, listen, the bigger teams are going to sign the best players. Milwaukee, they want a good farm team. They want to develop these players. So it's fantastic that Brandon Woodruff, great Brewers player, making that comeback. Everybody loves a comeback story. And that's about all I can do to tie that in a nice little bow as far as what I'm thinking.
Your streak is intact. Don't worry about it. Hakuna Matata. I actually did watch Hakuna Matata on Lion King on the plane yesterday, if you can imagine that, during my 9-hour, or was it 8-hour and 15, 8-hour and 30-minute ride from the UK. They actually had that as one of the choices on those TVs that you stick inside that microphone. Why am I bringing it up? No worries. Okay, JD.
Right. No,
your perfect streak is gone. Leave it at that so I can get to Steven, keep flow going. Thank you very much. Good stuff. All right, go ahead, Steven, then I'll have a final word on this one.
I mean, like Andy said, 32-year-old, 2-time All-Star, great to see him back after 652 days on the injured list. You know, it sometimes it is a rough road back. You know, I you know, regardless of what sport it is, when you have multiple setbacks after an initial injury, you are surprised that it is like some of these guys, you know, don't just mentally give up and you know, and just say that's it. I can't be a professional athlete anymore, because, you know, at the end of the day, regardless of what sport we're talking about, we're still playing kids games. You know, these guys are getting to live out their dreams, and sometimes their dream doesn't always play out as they should. But as far as the Brewers concerned, you couldn't be happier to one, see him back, two, to see him perform at the level that you'd hope to see him back, and three, you know, now you don't have to worry about looking for an extra arm as you try to get back into playoff contention and push for a division title. So it's great news for the Brewers fans. Bad news for the rest of the league is Brewers got a team, another team that's kind of flying under the radar too. So watch out as we get through the month of July.
I'll say two things about the top pick. A few more things I want to get to. Eric's rant's going to be one of them tonight. Okay. First of all, Pat Murphy, you just got a player that to me is the equivalent of a trade deadline pickup, because that's what you ended up getting. The guy's been busted up big time. You got him just before the trade deadline. Not to say the Brewers won't make another deal or two. If there's one to be had, but more power to them. So, trade deadline, Pat Murphy, good stuff. All right, we'll stay we're going to talk about Bobby Jenks for just a moment. Unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 44 due to cancer. Stephen, what are your thoughts about Bobby Jenks?
I'm going to first say, whoever is making posts on ESPN social media account, fire yourself, resign. Don't ever write another social media post. Putting the fact that Bobby Jenks was on the roster, not a major part of that Chicago White Sox World Series winning team, you should be freaking disgusted with yourself. If not the brand as it is. On the roster, he was a major part of that team.
Right.
So, like, not only are we all mourning the fact that this man is no longer with us, and friends, family, teammates, etc. are mourning that loss, but you have to see that this garbage. He was on the roster. Was he riding the pine? Did we not know that he was a part of the team? Right. I think the people that play with him would definitely beg to differ. It's one of these things where it's like, listen, whoever's running that account, like I'll ghost run it for you. Give me your paycheck. Yeah, you can give it to Eric. You can give it to JD. Candy could do a better job. George could do a better job. On the roster, man. And as far as everything else goes, it's a sad time in baseball whenever we lose one of our alumni, regardless if it's a friend, a foe, a rival, whatever. It's a small world sometimes, and you don't want to hear about losing anybody at that age.
Yeah, 44 gone way too soon. Cancer, but what else?
Yeah, especially to cancer. It's a rough one. I'm a combat sports guy. I'm just watching what's going on with Ben Askren having to get a double lung replacement, and he's not even in his mid 40s. He's a professional athlete. He's not a smoker or anything like that. So having to have a lung replacement is dangerous. So like there don't matter where you are in sports, if life is fragile, man. So thoughts and prayers go out to the people were closest to him, his teammates, his friends, things of that nature. And, it's definitely a tough loss.
I'm glad you pounced on ESPN real quick before I turn over to Candy. Number one, I was disappointed in their lack of reporting when none of them knew about Chuck Hughes passing away. And the only ones that got it right were Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser, for pardon the interruption. That to me is either faulty reporting or they're not paying the research department to come up with pertinent facts. So I'm with you there, Stephen. I mean, on the roster versus a key integral part of that team, I'm with you all the way. Great minds think alike on that one, Stephen. But ESPN got it wrong in this situation, and I'll piggyback off my colleague here, Steven. More power to him. But yes, rest in peace, Bobby Jenks. You
Rest in power.
deserve better fate than you ended up getting at 44. Okay, Candy.
What I'm gonna say about Bobby is he didn't take the normal route that a lot of players do. Now, I don't know if any of you knew this, but he didn't play high school baseball because he wasn't eligible because of his poor academic performance. So he actually played in the American Legion baseball, where he attracted the attention of scouts. He was selected fifth round, the 140th overall selection of the 2000 Major League Baseball draft. In one minor league game, the radar gun clocked his fastball at 100 miles per hour. During his time with the Angels, he spent much of the time on the disabled list because of the stress that throwing that hard put on his elbow. He had also some other issues. He had surgery in 2004 to repair a stress fracture. But, I mean, what a career. He, gone way too soon. Way too soon. But how cool is it that he, could do what he did for as long as he did. He served as a closer for most of his career. He ranked second in career saves among White Sox pitchers. He was a two-time All-Star. Yeah, that's. I'm gonna leave it at that. Rest in peace. I feel bad for, his family. I mean, gone at 44. That's way too young.
Okay, JD Wyatt.
The number 44 hits me. Had a high school classmate. He was a linebacker. His number was 44. We lost him way too soon. Bobby Jenks, 44 years old. Listen, I'm 37, creeping up 38. That is way too young for me to imagine leaving my two young kids behind. One that you saw here earlier. And so, yeah, man, it's rest in peace to Bobby Jenks. And exactly though what Steven said. What in the world were you doing, ESPN? Okay, listen.
Right.
Listen. ESPN, listen. If you're going to hire Kane over here, my guy, he says social media person was probably Gen Z and probably doesn't know who Charlie Hustle was. Like, I didn't know who Charlie Hustle was. So you can't expect a person that's 18 to 20 years old to know who the closing pitcher of Game 7 in the World Series of 2005 was. We all know that it's the gentleman that we're talking about. And rest in peace to him. But that internet person that's running that account probably doesn't know it. Listen, I know they'll give the car keys to anybody running a social media account.
Right.
So, yes, rest in peace. But congratulations, World Series champion. 44 is way too soon to go out.
Well, Kane says if they work at ESPN, they should know. I agree with you, but there's perception, there's reality. So that's the other thing I'll respond to your comment. They should know, but underline the word hyphenated should. Right. There's perception, there's reality. All right, George, go ahead.
Jerry Reinsdorf said, "We have lost an iconic member of the White Sox family today. None of us will ever forget that ninth inning, Game 4 in Houston. All that Bobby did for the 2005 World Series champions and for the entire Sox organization during his time in Chicago. He and his family knew cancer would be his toughest battle, and he will be missed as a husband, father, friend, and teammate. He will forever hold a special place in all our hearts." That's all I'm going to add. I mean, rest in peace, and you were a vital, vital part of that Chicago White Sox team. No question about it.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Eric. That's the last word on this, and we're going to talk about Max Fried, and then you're going to start off with Max Fried, Eric, after you get done with this last segment.
Well,
James.
Well, first off, I think sooner or later streaming is going to swallow ESPN whole, and then the rest the rest of those clowns there are going to be begging the streamers to hire them. I think what people forget though is besides closing out the World Series, big part of that 05 team, he tied an MLB record in 2007 for 41 consecutive innings without giving up a hit. That's hard. That is incredibly hard. Most of the time, it's done by pitchers. I know that the last guy to do it, I believe, was Oral Hershiser. But obviously, ESPN really should know. You have the internet, you have Chat GPT, which makes life even easier now. It's not hard to find out, but obviously ESPN just doesn't care about their baseball coverage despite having a contract with MLB, which I'm hoping MLB, even though they renewed it, decides to go somewhere else because ESPN to baseball is worthless. But Bobby Jenks, obviously he was, fighting hard for the disease, was supposed to come back and manage in the independent leagues again this year. But unfortunately, though, he did die too soon. Big part of the White Sox will always have, he'll always have a place in the game and definitely a place with the Chicago White Sox where, he had his, greatest accomplishment in baseball.
Okay, great stuff. Okay. On to Max Fried, 10-2, 114 innings pitched. 84 hits, 2.13 earned run average, 106 Ks. One of the few bright spots, Eric, for the New York Yankees, because there's especially on the hill.
I mean, if you're talking about a guy who was worth the money this offseason, who was just a great player to pivot to, Max Fried is that guy. I mean, obviously his role became a lot bigger than he anticipated with Garrett Cole having to go under the knife. But man, he's been, most of the time when you sign a free agent, there's all the hype surrounding him, but they never truly live up to that hype, if ever. Like it just very rarely ever happens. Like, I can't. The Yankees have signed a lot of free agents over the years. I mean, I remember when they got Roger Clemens, and Roger Clemens really wasn't that, in my opinion, wasn't that great with the Yankees. He wasn't the same Roger Clemens that he was with the Blue Jays and the Boston Red Sox. But happy that but Max Fried has lived up to the hype and some, and he is a big reason why the Yankees are even in the postseason conversation.
Great stuff. Okay, George.
Yeah, drafted in 2012, San Diego Padres, round 1, overall pick 7. He has a lot of great baseball ahead of him. 11-2 this year. He is really throwing well. He is the best that the Yankees got right now in that rotation. And he's a great success story for them as well. I wish him the best of luck. It's going to be an interesting battle for the Cy Young Award between Max and Skubal, but Max is having a great year, and obviously the Yankees are the beneficiary of that.
Great points, George. Really good points. Okay, go ahead, JD.
Great points. Everybody's had great points. It's all fantastic.
I'm waiting for you to come up with one. Come up with one.
I plead the fifth.
He's mad. He's mad because his Atlanta Braves would not give him that contract. That's what's going on right there. JD don't want none of that.
Come out.
Thanks, JD.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, yeah, I'll what do they call it in combat sports, Steven? Call it tapping out.
Yeah, you're tapping out. I mean, I don't blame you.
Oh,
I'd
you
be
missing this
mad
year?
too if the Yankees signed one of my stars. Listen, the Yankees got one of the best left-handed pitchers in baseball. He's one of the 3 All-Stars that's coming out of the Yankees trio. I think it's Jazz and we got Aaron Judge there
obviously
as well.
Judge, yeah,
right.
So,
so I did all of that though to say this.
Okay.
The Braves have never signed like one of their players that's going off to bigger and better things. The Braves have never retained him. I mean, Mark Teixeira that they had for a while, Andrew Jones, Tom Glavine. I mean, they've all gone. Craig Kimbrell, gone. Freddie Freeman, gone. You want to see a good magic trick? See the Braves bring up a great player from their farm system and watch him disappear into the starlight of the big city of Los Angeles, New York, wherever. And then Max Fried. And I've mentioned Charlie Morton earlier. I would have kept Charlie Morton, 20-year veteran, still pitching great.
Not really.
if he was still playing for the Braves, he would trust me. Listen, give me Charlie Morton back on the Braves. Listen, give me my players back on the Braves. Keep the team intact, and they would still be making World Series runs versus not making the playoffs this year.
Well, part of the reason they leave is because there's nothing really romantic about Atlanta.
Oh, God,
Okay, who plays baseball for romanticism?
Hey, there's no better place to celebrate when you win a championship than New York or Philadelphia or Boston for that matter. I can promise you that.
Okay, but what does that have to do with being romantic?
I'm telling you, the lights are a lot brighter in Philadelphia.
Let's be real.
Now, Steven, leave him alone. Steven, I've been waiting for this all show. Get out of the way. Let these two go at it.
Well, go away, Steven. Go back to Broad Street where you came from. Yep. I'm telling you, there is more money to be. Let me finish, young buck. I promise you that there is. You play in New York. There is no better place to celebrate. There is no better place to be in the world than New York, and it is the best. And yes, there's pressure that comes with it. I mean, there's a lot of negativeness that comes with it, and Philadelphia is definitely included. But I'm telling you, when you win a championship, it's like you have that entire city in the palm of your hand. The same cannot be said about Atlanta.
Okay, well,
King just said it right there. Georgia sucks.
Listen,
the only thing Georgia's good for is college football at this point in time.
About it. Yeah.
I'm not gonna hate about it, but what he said it was romantic. He said it was romanticized. So first of all,
okay, but where he's trying to get is
the city of brotherly love.
Okay, well I won't. It's fine. Well, because I can't finish my point apparently.
Well, finish it already.
Just say it.
Well, I mean, if I could quit getting interrupted.
Well, don't worry. I'm telling you. Wait, now I'm talking. Finish it. Everybody, let him finish it.
All right,
go on.
Okay, so I asked you, the question was, you said it was romanticized in these larger cities. There's nothing romantic about what you said, though. Romantic is a relationship thing. It's a girlfriend and boyfriend thing. It's a wife and a husband thing. So how many people have you seen get proposed to at a World Series championship parade? Oh, baby, my team won the World Series. Let me get down on one knee and propose to you right now. That is being romantic. So if you want to say that the lights are brighter and the fireworks are bigger in a big city, that's fine. But you can't tell me it's romantic. And listen about this. Giannis Antetokounmpo, you want to talk about having the city in the palm of your hand? He won it in Milwaukee, a small town. These guys won it in Atlanta, in a small town. Trust me. I'm a small town guy. Small town vibes beat large city vibes any day of the week.
All right, Broad Street from the top row, please.
All right, so just so we're clear with this, JD, where he's trying to go with this is no matter what, when you win in these places, you'll never have to buy a drink again. Anytime you run into a fan, they're gonna pick up your tab. What's going to happen in Atlanta? They go and give you some soul food?
No, but you're going to go to Buckhead. It'll be one hell of a time. Just ask Ray Lewis.
Listen, I'm not sitting there saying that they
I'm
don't.
Kidding with you. Wait a minute.
That was cold.
Wait a second. You go to Buckhead, you have a great time. I'm just giving you my opinion, right? Buckhead. How many people know Atlanta, but they all know about Buckhead? If you don't believe me, Mike Fratello, the former Atlanta Hawks coach, a friend of mine, told me all about that area, and I got a hotel near there many years ago. Buckhead, baby. That's where all the action's at.
Listen,
Buckhead.
When it all boils down to, Atlanta's a city of losers outside of the Braves. They haven't won nothing. Their football team continually has great Hall of Fame type players and do absolutely nothing with them. They choke in the big moments. Let's not even talk about the Atlanta Hawks. The last time they had a good player was Dominique Dawkins. What do they do with him? With Dominique Wilkins, I'm sorry. What do they do with him? Did they put anyone around him worth a while to give him a championship? No, they didn't do that. So listen, your town is a city of losers.
Okay, well, hey,
accept it.
I'm sorry y'all brought all of those other sports into it because I thought this was 108 stitches of
It
baseball.
is 108 stitches,
So
but
I didn't know we was bringing baseball and football into my.
Well,
my
you know what?
baseball
Let me just tie all this together here so that we can give Candy an opportunity to comment on this, and we go to Eric's rant. What happened to you right now, JD Wyatt, is these people threw a curveball at you, and this is 108 stitches baseball talk. And you just got a curveball thrown by you, and then they threw a few changes. Wait a minute, Steven. Wait a minute, Steven. Okay. Wait a minute.
Finish.
All right, it's okay, Steven. I know we put the heat on you, high heat on you the last 2 weeks, but now they have the pressure off where it's all on me, whereas I'm used to it anyway. But we threw a curveball at Southern Fried Gentleman. He's a gentleman, and then we slipped a change up, and then all of a sudden Steven are throwing a fastball by him. So it is all tied together in its own way. That's it.
I didn't know I didn't think I struck out, but if that's what
I didn't say you struck out, did I?
No, you said they blew a fastball by me, so
well, I did. I did throw a fastball. I didn't say strike three, did I?
Well, you said a curveball and then a changeup, and then you said a fastball.
Wait a minute.
So hey, yes, Mr. Catcher, that's 3 pitches.
Yeah, that's 3 pitches, but I didn't say you didn't foul one of them off. I'll tell you what. I like when you come out here, but this isn't the country club, baby. This is boot camp. But that's okay. I didn't say you struck out, did I? Yes or no?
No, you did not.
Good. Stop while you're ahead. Good. Okay, Katie, save this guy from himself, and then he'll rebound on in the country club. I'm kidding with you. You know I like you. Okay, but we're having some fun here. I'm trying to make light of all this situation because you sat here and brought every Tom, Dick, and Harry sport on the planet when I was making a simple reference here. That's all. All right, Katie, go ahead with Freed, and then we'll go to Eric's rant. Then we have one more Tigers to end up. We have about 22 minutes left in the show.
I have to backtrack and talk about what Steven said because I disagree to a certain extent, Steven. You talking about small market teams and not almost heroizing people. You tell me that if Ryan Braun was in New York, that New York would never have accepted him back, would never have let him finish his career. You can't tell me that that they would. Milwaukee idolizes Giannis. They love him. They have embraced him. They brought him over. They helped give him a place to stay in the beginning. I know we're supposed to be talking about Max Fried. Max Fried, yes, he was selected by the Padres in the first round, 7th overall in 2012. He was traded to the Braves in 2014, made his major league debut in 2017.
What happened there? Anybody live?
I'm here.
I think we're still here. I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm here. I can move.
I think Scott and Candy are
They
having
froze on us.
Yeah. How about Eric? You still good?
I'm good.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like we lost Scott and Candy here. Steven, you're the boss. Hey, you take it over, Steven.
Let's move on. You know what the last topic?
I think let's give them a second to kind of get back in here.
Eric's rant is next. Let's go, guys.
Yeah, let Eric start off with his rant, and
yes.
When and if they make it back in here, we'll repivot back to that.
Yep. Well, you're gonna like this one. All right, Steven.
I doubt it, but go ahead.
Man, every single baseball season that comes around, they always doubt the Philadelphia Phillies. Despite their star-studded lineup of Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, who's just mashing this year, they always doubt the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, this year, they're better than ever. Christopher Sanchez, Jesus Luzardo has been useful for them. Zach Wheeler's a stud. But, they just added that bullpen, and that team's a World Series team. I promise you, they are better than the New York Mets. That team is loaded, especially offensively. Every single year, I laugh when they doubt that the Phillies are going to go to the postseason or potentially miss the postseason. But I promise you that this is the year where I think they can make a lot of noise. And I'm telling you, it'll be them over the New York Mets.
I don't disagree with you on that part of it, just because the Mets are going to Met. They're, they're going to start off strong. They're going to look good. But when it counts, outside of last year, when they did knock us off, I'm not going to take that away from them. It still stings.
They were just hot.
I think they're gonna continue to teeter off. I think they overpaid for their superstar.
Soda.
So we're gonna see the consequences of putting all in for that guy and not spreading it around, getting a few more middle tier guys to kind of help them where they are going to need it. So yeah,
they need the bullpen. They need bullpen help.
I do think some teams do put the Phillies down, but I think it's warranted. This team hasn't won. This isn't the team that we were talking about, the 2000s Phillies that had great pitching, that had exceptional hitting, that got the job done. Yeah. This team, they've been there, they've been in the postseason, but they haven't gotten the job done. They lost to a terrible Arizona Diamondbacks team that they completely demolished during the regular season. The following year was last year. Fall short in the divisional round to the Mets. So you lose to another team that you were dominant to. I said it on my show with Ben Troop. If Rob Thompson doesn't win this year, a World Series this year, he's gone.
Absolutely. If any manager's under more pressure, it's Rob Thompson.
And you have Bryce, who's been consistently hurt over the last few years, and we still got another 6 years on that contract.
Yep.
Trey Turner's been up and down, but he's leading the league in hits this year. A slight all-star snub, if you ask me, but that's an argument for another day. So I agree with you to a point, but they have to show us they can win.
Right. Hey,
all right. I just want to get one word.
Let's respect George real quick. Yeah, he said he.
Yeah, no, I know George is normally a fast out. So go ahead, George.
Well, yeah, I just want to tell everybody you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. My book is called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. There's a link to my book under my column. My column appears on the South Florida Tribune website under the contributors section. And it's a great book about Detroit sports announcers way back from the days of Ty Tyson and Ernie Harwell and George Kell and Al Kaline and Frank Beckman and Dan Dickerson we have today on the broadcast team. So there's a link at the end of my column. And if you'd be so kind enough to support my book, I'd be happy for that too. And I thank you for the opportunity again to be on this show tonight, and looking forward to being on with Scott again on Wednesday.
I'm back on, by the way. So let me go over a couple of things. Can you see me now? We have a few technical problems on our end here.
Yeah, I think you're still on your phone, so you're echoing.
Yeah, I think we've taken it out. Hold on, let me get that out. Okay, hold on.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay, I'm back.
Yes.
All right. So, all right. Let me. What have you guys talked about? We had a few.
We just let Eric go on his rant, and I was about to look at our other topics and see where you wanted to go from there.
All right. So what did you talk about, Eric?
I ranted about people doubting the Philadelphia Phillies, and then Steven and I kind of had a little conversation going.
Okay, no problem. All right. So with that said, all right, did you get around to the Tigers situation?
No.
No, okay. Like I said, that was probably Tigers situation was the next one.
Yeah,
hey, you guys are back.
All right, so let me take over from here. Thanks for filling in, keeping the show going. All right, with that said.
But George, George said he did his plug. George said he was ready to go. So I didn't.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah. George was ready to get out.
Okay, no problem. That's fine. I'll pick it up from there now that he's out of there, and I'll go from there. All right. So, anyways, the Detroit Tigers obviously are 57-34. How did they get there, JD Wyatt?
Hey, they took the approach of what I've said works the whole time. Small market team, building that farm system, and now you go get to harvest your vegetables. That's the way to do things. Listen, it might take time, but anything good in life takes time. I hate to tell all you people that. All of you young bucks out there who want something in 15 minutes or 15 seconds or less. That ain't how things work. You can't make one 15-second video and make $1 million. It's going to take you a few of them to do so. So, Detroit Tigers are doing what they need to do. Spending money wisely, low payroll, dirty C words, chemistry, culture, commitment, camaraderie, competition. They've got them all. Give me the Detroit Tigers. I don't think they'll win it all, but I love what they're doing. I'll be a fan from afar for the Detroit Tigers.
Sounds good. All right, Eric, how did the Tigers get to where they're at? Eric?
Is he frozen now?
Yeah.
I was about to say, looks like it's his turn.
All right, well, you know what? Shall we get Eric back? Steven, how did the Tigers get to where they're are
Wait.
you there, Eric?
No. Okay. Listen, you know, haven't
well,
really
anyway,
been
Steven.
too much following on the Tigers, but you know, you got a double-digit lead on everyone in your division. They are effectively running away with this thing. I'll disagree with JD about them being small market. You know, Detroit. I don't think Detroit is a small market in any sense of the word. But
Yeah.
Tomato.
Fair.
So, but they haven't been. I guess the phrasing you're probably looking at is one of the premier teams, the powerhouse teams that you normally see. You know, kind of running away with their division. So, listen, regardless of how you do it, regardless if you're doing it with small ball baseball, if you're hitting for power, if you're dominating with pitching, regardless of how you get the job done, as long as you can be consistent throughout the season, is how you're going to win consistently in baseball. I do agree with the fact that I'm not going to be I still think the favorite in the AL right now is going to be the Houston Astros, in my opinion. I think, as I say, the Mets are going to Met, the Yankees are going to Yankee too. I think both of the New York teams are overhyped, over promoted, and they will fall apart when things come down to it. Now the Yankees are down 2 big pitchers. You can almost write it in the bank that they're not going to return. And after the World Series performance they had last year, I wouldn't want to see them if I'm a Yankees fan. They got swept out.
Okay.
It's been a rough 16 months in New York. They've had a bad time. So I would say, if I'm betting right now, I would say Detroit and/or Houston is going to be the team that comes out of the AL.
Okay, sounds fair. Okay, Candy, how did the Tigers get to where they're at?
The Tigers have slowly built back up their system, and they've developed their young players.
Right.
So they've developed from within. I think there's a cohesiveness, and so I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. So for years,
don't you dare be honest with us.
The Brewers played in the American League. They played against the Tigers, and I never wanted the Tigers to win. Now I'm thankful that the Brewers moved to the National League, and I don't have to worry about whether they're playing Detroit as much or not, because let's face it, my house is a house divided. I'm definitely a Wisconsin girl. My husband is definitely a Detroit guy. And therefore, I have watched more of the games because my husband is a Detroit guy. And there is a cohesiveness, and you can just see that they enjoy playing baseball together. And that makes a difference. So I think they're doing it the right way. They're building it. They're from within. And like I said, they're having fun, and it shows. It correlates to wins on the field. So kudos to them. and I think they could go far because I really think they have some really good pitching, and their bats and they're runners, so they're willing to run and take risks.
Okay, well, we'll ask Eric the same thing, and I'll end it real quickly after that. Eric, how did the Tigers get to where they're at?
I mean,
Well,
they're hit. I mean, Tarek School for one thing, who I think is going to win the Cy Young Award. Javi Baez remembered how to play baseball. Spencer Torkelson starting to show what made him the number one overall pick, and overall the young group of talent, the grim group of players that they have is finally blossoming. That's why the Tigers are in the position they're in. Also, it helps when you have two guys who I don't think get enough talk nationally, Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter.
Right. Great points. Here, AJ Hinch is the reason why they got where they're at. He's a genius. Everybody saw what he did in Houston, right? Took a team that obviously was down for a while, rebuilt them up, and he's pulling the same magic in Detroit. Yes, Eric, you're right. Kerry Carpenter deserves to be recognized. Casey Mize is finally having the year a number one pick in the draft should be having. Spencer Torkelson's having a rebound year. Let's not forget that Riley Green is going back to the All-Star team. It's a collective effort all the way around. Tigers could be a very dangerous outlet for sure. So George had to get off earlier. His wife had a little incident, so we hope that she feels a little bit better. Glad that he was able to make a contribution tonight, as well as everybody else. We had a few little technical issues on our end because of weather conditions in our area. Glad that Stephen was able to keep things going. Then again, he's had a lot of practice in the last 2 weeks anyways, and not less counting the fact that he does what he does anyhow. But that said, why don't we let everybody know how they get a hold of Eric, and then we'll go to a final station break with Candy. Eric, please let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
You can follow me on my Twitter at Sports Team News, or you can follow me on my blog at bellyupsports.com, where I'm writing all things baseball. If you think I don't like your team, yes, I don't like your team.
By the way, I enjoyed the camaraderie that Eric had with JD, Wyatt, and Steven. It was fun to watch you guys in action. Anytime I get an excitable moment.
About? I didn't see any camaraderie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fellowship of hate that we all have for each other.
That's why I'm being sarcastic. Wait a minute. That's why I'm being sarcastic. I'm being sarcastic about the camaraderie.
I'm Captain Literal. I will always be Captain Literal, my friend.
All right, no problem. But I still like Captain Literal. Okay, I still like the camaraderie anyways with these three guys. They were awesome. All right, JD Wyatt, let everybody know they get hold of you. And, of course, we know that you're the co-host of the Country Club with Candy on Thursday nights.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can catch us Thursday nights with the South Florida Tribune. I am the co-host. So graciously appointed that for no reason at all. I don't know why. I'm a nobody, man. I don't know why they would ever imagine that I could do anything here on one of these sports shows.
Maybe they think you're probably pretty good. Okay, go ahead.
I appreciate it, and that's basically what I was saying, man. We're growing. Listen, it's hard sometimes to not want to try to take over a show or do this or do that, and it's hard to kind of sit back. But I certainly enjoy myself when I get to sit back and listen to Scott and Eric and Steven and Candy. And I've got a whole list of notes typed up of things that I could have responded to, but didn't do it. We'll save them for another day. So it's going to be a great thing. And I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate every guy on here, every lady on here. And like I said, we're gentlemen, and we'll also be Captain Literal, like Steven said. There's nothing romantic about winning a championship in a big city, though. I'll stand by that. Y'all be blessed, not stressed, and just be kind to one another. Dang it.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to get that romantic comment. I knew you were going to throw that right back at us. Great stuff. It's okay.
That's probably why you had a stretch of 14 if we're going to the playoffs 14 years in a row and only winning one championship.
Ooh, that was low.
Again, nothing to do with being romantic.
All right, that's
good.
As soon as
you can tie that word into it, you let me know.
All right, we have a couple minutes left in the show before you two romantic people here go crazy and we run out of time and can't get started. All right, Katie, go ahead for the final station break. I'll wrap this puppy up. Riots are very romantic. All right, interesting, Kane. We'll leave it at that. So we're putting up. Yeah, why not? Katie, while you're doing it, do the final station break of the night.
Okay, South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. And the foreword is written by George Eichhorn. Talks about Scott's 40 plus years in the media business and how it has evolved and changed. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It even has a picture of Scott with a young Tommy Lasorda and a young Scott too. So go get your copy today. Read up. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great other content. So go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas that you want us to talk about, you could always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if I will be completely honest, I've been on vacation. So if you have emailed us recently and I didn't get back to you, I apologize. I'm working through those emails as we go here. So one last thing. If you like to listen to Chicks Talking Sports, Tuesday nights, 3 Chicks in a Pod or Chicks and Salsa on the Chicks Podcast. Tuesday nights, 7:30 Eastern. You'll find me and other chicks talking sports. Besides my fire up on Thursday night with JD, of course.
Yeah, the Country Club, a.k.a. Okay. All right, let me wrap it up here on this note. Number 1, programming ahead. Steven got the real and the rare and the fan. And what's the other one, Steven? The real and the rare. What?
The fan in the end with me and Ben Troop. Nice. I got a lot of fun interviews playing for this month. As I was already alluding to Eric appreciating the Vinny Papali jersey. Vinny will be on the South Florida Tribune Media Network at some point in time, either the end of July or beginning of August. As far as the real and the rare, I'm working on newly minted Hall of Famer Vinny the Tasmanian Devil Pazienza is going to be on the network as well. I'm working with a few things. Going to have a potential cornerback safety for the Chicago Bears is going to be joining us. Mm-hmm. Also working with a female flag football star quarterback should be joining us at some point in time this month. So I'm working on a lot of fun content, a lot of fun interviews moving forward. Appreciate everyone tuning in the chat. Appreciate, all the shenanigans that me, Eric, and JD had tonight. We're going to continue to have some more fun banter with all of our content creators.
All right, real quickly, inside the pigskin tomorrow night, Stephen will be on with myself and Candy tomorrow. Right now, we're scheduled to have Ben Troop and Melfar Jr. Wednesday night, I have Motor City Mad Mouse show. Stay tuned for that. Sports Exchange on Wednesday night. Thursday night, we have Sports Rap. George Eichhorn and I will host that show. And, of course, the Country Club with Candy and JD White. On behalf of my crew, George Eichhorn, had to leave a little bit earlier. No problem. George, will look forward to having you back Wednesday night. Thanks for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Stephen and I will be on The Professor and the Pupil next Monday night. And that will lead into 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. On behalf of my good crew here, thank you very much for joining us. We'll catch you next week on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And please keep following our shows and sharing them alike. God bless everybody. Have a good night. Bye now.